So what's up guys, and welcome to another video here on Abbstertcg. Hope you're all having a great day. I'm having my evening coffee. Mandatory to get some coffee each day. So for a YouTuber in their career, they have to do like all the staple things, and I would say like the big two is doing at least one apology video during their career. We will see when I have to do one. And also the other one is of course the tier list. So I'm doing a tier list here to follow a little bit of the meta. You're probably watching hundreds of these fucking things, and it's completely up to you if you want to watch it or not. But I'm just doing it to hop on the trend, you know. So you have to stay consistent. So I don't really like this tier list with like S tier, S plus tier, A plus plus, A 1.5, 1.25, 1, tier 0, tier 0 I meant. I just like to do the things like, okay, we have best deck, close the second, decent, okay, and then we have cringe of course. And then we have to start with this one, free the goat. And as you said, we have started a movement now to free Gigachad. So tag Bandai on X if you find a Bandai official from our community. Tell them to free our Gigachad, our boy. And then of course we're going to put Law at cringe because no one wants you back.
Red Purple Law, what a stupid leader. Who would want him unbanned in the current year?
No, so to explain best deck, I think it's the best decks of the format. If you are going into a big event, these are the decks you should look at to have the highest percentage to win. Then we have a close second. These are decks who have probability to win, but I think that they're slightly worse than the best decks. Then we have decent. I think these are decent decks that can maybe top. I don't think they have a big chance to win, but they can. I think they're just decent. And then we have okay. I just put it there, we will see if we put any leader there, and I will mostly try to focus on the better ones. For example, I won't put this Kaido anywhere. I will just look and try to find the leaders I think are better. So let's start. So first off, we are going to put Zoro. I think it's one that we can put. I think he is in okay or maybe decent, but I will put him at okay. I have not seen that much Zoro. I think he has kind of a bad matchup spread right now into the better decks, so that's why I'll put him okay. But of course you can probably win locals with him because it's still a decent deck with a decent leader effect. I think with the starter deck support coming in that has been dropped in Japan right now, the deck will get better, but I don't think that will solve any problems that Zoro has right now. And then for the next one, we're actually putting the red-green law. I think this deck should be put in decent. I think that you should never take this one to a bigger event right now. The engine is just too frail against some of the decks. But for example, if you are playing locals and like a lot of the black players hopped on Teach, for example, or Blackbeard, and there's not that many Robluchis, Law actually becomes a decent pick. I won a locals with him in 09 because I know there will be 0 Luchis, and I think he actually has a good matchup into Teach. He has a good matchup into Doffy, and I think he also has a decent matchup into Black Yellow. So it could be a locals deck that's really fun to play. Also, I think this leader may be good in the future with some support. I seen they're releasing like these 6 starter decks again with support for all leaders. So I really hope we are getting a Law starter deck to get some more card for him, because he's one of my favorite leaders. And then we have the big dog of the format. We have Doflamingo. I think this is the best deck of the format right now. It has been performing the most consistent tops, most consistent wins, I think, or maybe not wins in finals, but it has been really consistent. And if you're really fishing at it, it is a crazy good deck. So I don't think I have to go over it more. I don't think there are more leaders in the top row. Maybe I could address Smoker. I think Smoker is a decent deck. I think it's a worse version of Robluchi. So if you're looking to play this Moria-esque decks, I think you should play Robluchi instead. I think there's some arguments for Smoker because you have a slightly better matchup into Teach because of the Tashigi, and I think Tashigi is decent into, for example, Dofi too, but Roblucci is just a straight up better leader right now. And then we could take Katakuri. I think it's okay. I've seen some high up in ladder, but it's like you play a lot of games, you have high win rate, and you will get some point with him because the variety of variance of the triggers. And then we have Nami. I think Nami also goes indecent. I think your matchup into Dofi is horrible, and I think your matchup into Teach is not that good, and they are really represented decks. But if you play a tournament without Dofi and without Teach, yeah, then this deck becomes crazy. But playing a bigger event, that won't happen, of course. Then we have Rebecca. I think she can be an okay. I think it's okay leader. I have not much more to say, but it's good deck. It's a good leader effect. It's a Moria deck. I think it's okay. You could probably win locals with it. And then we're going to take Purple Luffy. I think Purple Luffy goes in the close second to decent category. I think it has not converted that well in these bigger events. I've seen some tops here and there. So I think if it's close second, it should be like on the lower end of the spectrum. But I still think it's a good leader, but it's so reliant on going first and hitting your perfect curve. And once your opponent like answer what you do, then you're just going to lose. So I think this is going into close second. And then we're going to look more in this row. I think we can touch on Belobetti. I think Belobetti is decent, but it's also like this really polarizing deck because you have this matchup spread that you have horrible matchup into Dofi and also Lucci, but you have kind of a decent matchup into some other things. So I think it's a good deck. It consistently goes high on ladder, but I think it's also a case of being the aggro deck that you play a lot of games. And if you just start 51-52% win rate, then you're going to climb, and it's a little bit luck dependent. So maybe it's like on the top end of the decent. So I think, of course, this deck can win locals. It can win slightly bigger events, but I don't see this deck going close to getting a big tournament win. And then we have Enel. I think Enel also should be slotted into the decent spot. Here I think you have a good matchup into Dofi. But I think you lose to every other deck, and also with Enel playing him, he can be great. But when I play him, when I play him, I don't play him. But when I look at him play, like playing against him or see some other one play him, then it always feels like the games are not in your hand. You have to wait for late game, and then you maybe win when you're dropping your big things. So I don't think Enel is that good right now. He's getting support in the EB02, and I know people have called the new 10 drop crazy. I think the 10 drop is good, but I don't know if I'm already on that hype train, because the deck will still have the problems it has before. Now you're just getting another ace, and the difference with this an ace is that into Teach you're always going to have rush, and it can stack up like turn for turn for turn, but you're discarding a card to get one life, so it's not plus, it's not minus, and the ace card just gives you a life and gets rush. So in some scenarios ace actually can be better if your opponents are playing a deck that can answer to the Enel. So I think the card is really good, but we will see if it's enough to push the deck. You could actually play a bigger Sky Enel package because it's a Sky Enel card. So you're maybe going to play the Shura, I think it's called, and maybe playing 7 cost Enel and going more of that build, because you can also search Raigo with it, and so I think the deck absolutely will get better, and also with the event that looks at top 5 to take a big card. I think the deck gets better, but I still think the deck has the same problem it will have from before. So now we can touch on Rage. I think Rage is decent. It's like this tempo-esque deck, but I think also Rage has a problem with the matchup spread. So I think this deck will be decent for now. I heard in OP11 that Judge is maybe getting a leader, and it's maybe getting support because the set is based off Whole Cake and Fishman. So maybe then we are getting some more cards that can solve this deck, because the leader is still really good. Drawing a card every turn and going minus is really good. The engine is good, but I think you just need some more power. You have still Black Maria as a good option if you go aggressively in early game with your small ones to go minus and draw cards, and then you can just one turn play Black Maria, ramp 5, and next turn go Judge. So I think it has some things going for it, but I think it needs more to put it over the edge. And then we can take Moria. I think Moria is a decent deck too, maybe a little bit higher here, something like this maybe. I think Moria is like a budget Lucci right now. I don't think there's any reason to play Lucci with Moria. I saw a Moria player win like a bigger tournament in somewhere, but I think like you should probably not touch this leader if you are going to a bigger event than locals or maybe a store championship or something. And also like if it's a deck you enjoy to play, you can always play it, because in the end these card games are about having fun, though you can win good prizes, but if you're just looking to have fun, then Moria is probably a really good leader still. And then we have Bonnie. I think Bonnie also goes in the decent category. I think it can top sometimes. Maybe it's like the upper bracket of decent. Maybe it's better than Enel. I think Bonnie suffers from the same thing as Enel does and some of the other leaders does, that the matchup spread is too bad. You have a good matchup into something, but you have bad matchup in something, so it ends up being really polarizing. So taking Bonnie to a big tournament and queuing into your bad matchups will be super hard for you, but if you consistently queue into your good matchups, then of course you're going to have a good event. So I think Bonnie is a decent pick, but I don't think you should touch it if your ambition is straightly to top. And then for the next one we have Boa. I think Boa also comes into decent. It falls in the same category as Smoker. I think it's like a budget version of a better deck in Doflamingo. So I think if you're looking to play this more Warlord blue deck, I think you should always play Doflamingo over Boa. Like Boa, the matchup spread I'm not that sure, but I know it has kind of a good matchup into Teach, but Doffy also has it, so no reason to play Boa over Doffy if your goal is strictly to top. And then we have Roblucci. I think Roblucci actually right now is in the close second category. I think Roblucci is a good deck, but I think it has fallen off some because your matchup spread is getting worse with Teach getting more and more play, and also Black Yellow being such a dominating force. You have good matchup into Doffy. I'm not really sure into your purple Luffy matchup, but I think it may also be decent. But you lose a lot to Teach and Black Yellow, so I think this deck is good. It has topped. It went like second place in the finals in US, but I think it's not in the best deck category, at least right now. And then for the next, we could touch on Vegapunk. I think Vegapunk is indecent. I think it has something going for it. You can play this like more aggro hybrid list with these value cards. I think it's a hard deck to play because you get really punished if you play bad, but it actually has some things going for it with some more support. Now this deck has had a lot of support, but I think with the new 5-cost Vegapunk from EB02, the deck might be a little better because it's a blocker that puts out a card, which is really good for this deck. And then we have, I don't know if I need to touch on Marco. I think it needs support. Pudding, no. Shanks, okay, so I think Shanks also goes in the close second category. I think Shanks is good. It won in Latin America. It has won some bigger events, but I just think this deck is, if you know how to really play into it, for example with Teach or other matchups, I think this deck becomes really hard to play. So if your opponent is really efficient at it, I don't think Shanks will go all the way in bigger events. But it's a good deck to play, to pick up. So I think you, of course, can win locals and bigger events, and also you can win championships. But I think statistically you are better off with other leaders if your goal is strictly to win. Then we have Boogie. We can put him at okay. Decent leader. He does not have the promo card right now, so his matchup into Doffy is not good yet. But maybe with the promo card he could be bumped up to decent, but I don't see that much going for this leader right now. I'm going to put him at decent because I seen him won some like half bigger tournaments, not the really big ones, but I've seen it putting up some stats. I saw one list that went 10-0, so he went 6-0 in Swiss and then he won both top games. So he went 10-0 in the tournament, so 6-0 then winning the top bracket. But I think this deck is probably more in the decent category. We've done this row, and then we have Black Purple Luffy. I think this one also goes in the higher end of decent. I think this deck is a little bit weird, I think, because it has a lot of things going for it, but at the same time it's a 4-life leader and really struggles into these more aggressive decks, like for example Doflamingo and Teach also, because Teach will lock you off your big value effects. So I think also it has a polarizing matchup spread, but of course you can do good with it. I think some topped one guy or maybe two topped in the NA finals. But I think it's a decent deck and it's fun to play, but I think if you're looking to play this more kind of ramp deck, you should probably play Purple Luffy instead if you're strictly going for the wins, as I've said a lot now. And then Nico Robin, I think she goes in decent. I saw some of it top. I think Nico Robin falls in the same category as, for example, Enel and Bonnie. You have these good matchups and you have these horrible matchups. So you will have a really hard time going into a big event when you play 12 rounds of Swiss and then top cut. So it can top, but I don't think it will go be even like close to going all the way. And then we have Teach. I'm actually going to put Teach in close second, in at least for 09. Now I've done a lot of Teach videos, as you know, and that's probably why you are watching my videos. I think Teach is a really good leader, but you still have the big problem in Doflamingo. And Doflamingo being the most played deck in the room, Teach can never be in best deck without the OP10 support. For example, if you play no Doflamingo, I think Teach will be here, but Doflamingo being so prevalent in the meta makes it be close second. I think it's probably the third best deck in the format. Maybe it can be like it's at least top 5, I think, but I would put it close second. Also, Teach is not this like straightforward deck, so it takes a lot of time to play and it's a bit harder, and people just picking up the deck in 09 before a big event, so the learning curve is a little bit longer, as I said. So I think Teach will put up more and more results as the longer the format goes, because people start to figure out the best way to play him. But yeah, Doflamingo is too hard to beat for this deck to go up here. Then we have the Black Sakazuki. No, just kidding. Then we have Red Purple Luffy. I think Red Purple Luffy could be here, could be here. I think it has a lot of things going for it. Ramping and going up to these big drops fast. But I think you have like your matchup spread also is kind of rough against some things, and I think it's kind of an inconsistent deck. You have Giant, you have a lot of these good cards, but I have not seen it do that much results yet. But I think it's better than all of these leader, and I don't think it's better than any of these. And then we have Black Yellow Luffy. So I'm actually going to put Black Yellow Luffy in the top 2. So I'm only going to have 2 decks in the best decks. I think Black Yellow is kind of a not weird deck, but I think the really good players on the deck are really good. Like there's a big difference of a good Black Yellow Luffy player and one of the best ones for it. And we have seen it put up a lot of results. I think in now this was in 08, but in European finals there were 2 Black Yellows in the top 8, and it won the NA finals, and I think it did good in Latin America. So I actually think that Black Yellow Luffy is like in the top 2. It has a good matchup into Doffy and into Lucci. I'm not that sure of the matchup against Shanks and Purple Luffy, but I know you have started to tech more against these bigger drops with Raigo and with Raigo right now. So I actually think that it should be in the best deck category. And then we don't have any other leaders I'm seeing here that I want to put on the tier list, because I think these decks, of course, if your deck is not here, it can win locals, you may do good with it, but this is like my opinion on how the meta looks. And also when you're playing a big tournament, all is about like the matchups you queue into. For example, if you have a round with Roblucci that you never playing Black Yellow or Teach, you're probably like here. And same with Teach, if you never play Doffy or maybe play a little bit less of Purple Luffys, you're probably here. So it all depends on the matchup, but you have to look at like in general what leaders are played and how much are played and the probability for everything. So this is my tier list. Doffy best deck, Black Yellow being second, and then on the close seconds, like the 1.5 picks that people like to say, it's Teach, Roblucci, Shanks and Purple Luffy. So I think these 6 leaders are the ones that has highest probability of doing good in events. And here we have the like more locals type decks that maybe sometimes in a while does good in a bigger event, but they will not come close to the top 6 leaders right now. So this was it for this video. Thanks for watching this tier list. This is the best tier list, of course. You can compare them with any other tier list you watched. This will be like differences in the quality, of course. No, but jokes aside, thanks a lot for subscribing, liking, and watching these videos. I've only done this for like 2 weeks right now, so I still have to figure some things out, how to do better content, like how to talk, and it's good because I'm training my English. Before I was like all the time, and now I feel like I can speak more fluently without these stops. So you are the goats guys, and see you on in the next video.